You stretch out on the couch after a long day, and you yawn. A big, slow, jaw-cracking yawn. And down by your feet, your dachshund lifts his head, squints, and, a beat later, yawns right back at you. It feels like a tiny, silent conversation, like he just answered you. The internet has a very confident explanation for this. It'll tell you your dog caught your yawn because he empathizes with you, because he's so bonded to you that he literally feels what you feel. Here's the honest version, and it's more interesting than the confident one. Part of that is backed by real, repeated science, and part of it, the part everyone repeats the loudest, is something serious researchers are still arguing about right now. Two well-run labs looked at the exact same behavior and came to opposite conclusions. So today, no overselling. Let's separate what's actually proven from what just sounds good, and figure out what your dog's yawn really tells you. Let's start with the claim we can actually stand on. Dogs really do catch human yawns. This isn't a cute guess. It was first tested back in 2008 in a study titled Dogs Catch Human Yawns, published in the journal Biology Letters. The researchers sat with 29 dogs, one at a time. Sometimes the human yawned. Sometimes the human just opened and moved their mouth, a control. To make sure it wasn't only the sight of a mouth doing something, the result was hard to ignore. 21 of those 29 dogs yawned when the person yawned. The fake mouth movements? They triggered 0 yawns, not 1. So the effect is real, and it's specific to actual yawning. It wasn't the dog just copying any old mouth movement. It took a genuine yawn to set him off. That was the first time science showed this catching of yawns wasn't just a primate thing. It reached across the species line, from us to dogs. But notice what that study did and didn't prove. It proved the behavior exists. It did not prove why. 29 dogs can show you that something happens. They can't, on their own, tell you what it means inside the animal's head. And why is it where this whole story quietly falls apart and gets interesting? The reason people jump straight to empathy is a clever piece of reasoning. In humans, contagious yawning isn't random. We catch yawns more from people we're close to, family, friends, than from strangers. And people who score higher on tests of reading others' emotions tend to catch yawns more easily. That link to closeness is why scientists suspect our yawn catching is tangled up with reading other people's states. It's not just a reflex, it seems to track how connected we feel. So the natural question was almost irresistible. Do dogs show that same pattern? If a dog also catches a familiar person's yawn more than a stranger's, that would be a real fingerprint of something empathy-like. 2 studies suggested maybe yes. In 2012, researchers tested whether dogs would catch a yawn they could only hear. No video, just audio. Dogs yawned more to the sound of their owner's yawn than to a stranger's. That familiarity gap is exactly what you'd expect if the behavior were socially tuned. Then in 2013, a team at the University of Tokyo went further. 25 dogs watched their owner yawn and watched a stranger yawn. Again, dogs yawned more for their owner. And here's the detail people loved. The researchers measured the dog's heart rate, and it didn't spike during the yawning. That mattered, because it argued the yawns weren't just a nervous stress reaction. The authors said this was consistent with, their words, a rudimentary form of empathy. There's even a developmental clue. A 2013 study of puppies found that only dogs older than about 7 months reliably caught yawns. That's intriguing, because in human children, catching yawns strengthens around age 4. Right when kids get better at reading what other people are feeling. Same rough pattern in a puppy growing up. It's a tidy, satisfying story. And if you stop the video right here, you'd walk away certain your dog's yawn is proof of a deep emotional bond. Plenty of articles do stop right here. They line up these 3 studies, add a warm conclusion, and post it. And I understand why. It's a lovely idea, and it might even turn out to be partly right. But lining up the studies that agree with you and ignoring the ones that don't isn't how you find the truth. It's how you sell a headline. So this is exactly the moment where an honest channel has to slow down and turn the story over. Because consistent with empathy is not the same sentence as proves empathy. Look closely at those studies. 25 dogs, 29 dogs. These are small groups. Small studies can find real effects. but they can also find effects that shrink or vanish when someone tests more animals more carefully. And in 2020, someone did exactly that. The title alone tells you where it's going. Contagious yawning is not a signal of empathy. This team ran a fresh experiment with 32 dogs, and then did something the earlier work couldn't. They pooled the data from 6 previous studies, over 250 dogs combined, and reanalyzed the whole pile. Their conclusion had 2 halves, and both are honest. Half 1. Yes, dogs do catch human yawns. The behavior held up, so nobody's saying you imagined your dachshund yawning back. Half 2. They found no familiarity effect. Dogs didn't reliably yawn more for their owner than for a stranger. No difference by the dog's sex. No difference for kind versus unkind people. And if the empathy story were right, that owner versus stranger gap is the one thing you'd absolutely expect to see. And in the biggest look at the data, it wasn't there. They weren't alone either. Even earlier, back around 2009 and 2011, other labs had trouble reproducing that closeness effect at all. So where does that leave us? With a genuine, unresolved scientific disagreement. One set of studies found an owner effect. A larger analysis didn't. That is not a failure of science. That's science actually working, out loud, in real time. And we're not going to paper over it just because your dog empathizes with you is a nicer thing to hear. Let's bring it back to your couch, honestly. What we can say with confidence. Your dachshund probably can catch your yawn. That's real and repeated. What we cannot honestly promise, that the yawn means he's feeling your feelings. That specific claim is disputed by good researchers using bigger samples. And there's a fair, less romantic possibility that hasn't been ruled out, that catching a yawn is a simpler, more automatic kind of mirroring. Your movement nudges his. The way a laugh can slip out just because the room is laughing, with no deep feeling behind it. It might ride on plain attention, or on a small bump in arousal, rather than on emotion. When your dog is watching you closely, and dachshunds are champion couch watchers, a yawn may simply be contagious, the way a stretch is. Not as heartwarming, maybe, but we follow the evidence, not the version that feels best. And honestly, my dog is wired to mirror me is still a pretty remarkable thing to be true. One more grounding thought. A yawn is not a single meaning signal. Dogs also yawn when they're tired, when they're a little stressed or unsure, or as a way to reset in a tense moment. So the same yawn you're admiring might be about his afternoon, not about you at all. Here's the takeaway, stated the way it should be. Your dog catching your yawn, that's real. You're not making it up. But the leap from "he caught my yawn" to "he feels what I feel" is a leap the science hasn't finished making. Right now, honest researchers disagree, and the largest look at the data leans away from empathy. And weirdly, that uncertainty is the good part. It means your dog's inner world is still bigger than our tidy explanations for it. We're allowed to sit in, "we don't fully know yet." That's not a lesser answer. It's the true one. If you'd rather have the honest version, real studies, real numbers, and someone who'll tell you when the science isn't settled, subscribe. Every episode we take one thing your dog does and check it against the actual research, no overselling. Next time your dachshund yawns back at you, you can smile at it. Just know that what it means is still, wonderfully, an open question.